I'll stick with what I said 6 months ago that I I thought absolutely no question in my mind we were getting to 6-digit BTC this year in dollars. No question. Why? Well, because fair value was going to be in the low to mid 80s, and we would blow right through that because of animal spirits. And whether we got to 110 or 120 or 150, I don't really know. It just depends how much leverage gets in the system. But this week, I'm fairly certain, it can never be certain, but I'm fairly certain we'll blow right through 100K. Then we'll get a really big parabolic move. So eventually it will hit 240. And I read this morning, someone was saying, oh, it'll be 250 in 8 weeks. So 8 weeks from now, we'll be post inauguration. And if they got that bill passed in the first week and suddenly people were like, holy crap, I got to front run the US government. Yeah, things could go up faster.
Bitcoin is poised to soar past $100,000 this year, with the potential to climb above $250,000 following the approval of the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. This forecast comes from Mark Yusko, founder of Morgan Creek Capital Management. After Bitcoin surged nearly 40% following the election, many attributed the rise to the crypto-friendly optimism surrounding Donald Trump's presidency. Although Bitcoin has retreated from its $100,000 peak, the outlook for crypto in 2025 remains bright, especially with Trump's plans to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Yusko predicts that a large-scale Bitcoin purchase by the U.S. South government could drive the cryptocurrency to new heights. As the government secures its own Bitcoin holdings, Yusko believes this will not only legitimize Bitcoin but also boost its value, paving the way for increased institutional and global adoption. Stay tuned as Mark Yusko explains in detail why Bitcoin's value is set to skyrocket and how the Trump administration's plans could accelerate its global growth.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
Because there's no question at all that this administration, this incoming administration, chose actively to embrace Bitcoin and other things. We'll see how many other things, but definitely Bitcoin. And so that alone is worth some momentum. Now, there's a difference between talking to get votes, which is clearly what he did, right? I don't believe that the Donald has a wallet of his own. I don't think he bought Bitcoin or any other coin for that matter. I think his son probably has some, and I think JD definitely has some. I think there are other people in the administration, but I don't think Donald Trump really cared. But someone told him, hey, there's probably 100 million people that own this stuff. Some of them are going to vote. So you could say, I love you and vote for me. And I'm sure you saw the video when he went to Bitcoin Nashville.
I was there.
And he gave his speech, right? I love the look on his face when he said, on day one, I'll fire Gary Gensler. And people went crazy. And he's like, he was literally shocked at how emotional, and he's like, I'm going to say that again. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. And the place went crazy. And then every time, and I'll free Rosh and play with it great. And I'll do this. He's like, damn, this is real. And so no question that that's worth something. But the hard part is the talk versus the walk. So yeah, you can say, we're going to do a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Easy to say, harder to do. Harder to get that bill actually passed. Even with a majority, it's still going to be tougher to get it passed. So if that happens, then I actually might have to update. Because why would I have to update? Well, because if you think about the two reasons that the price of an asset moves. So one is the fundamental value changes. Well, how does the fundamental value changes? Well, you make something new, you invent some new innovation, you're a company, you make lots of widgets, and you create new cash flows. And that's really not what Bitcoin or other cryptos are. So that's not it. Okay, well then what else can happen? Well, you could have two people agree on the price for a small amount. And I may be a miner and I need to get a certain amount on my Bitcoin to pay my bills. And so unless you offer me that amount, I'm not going to sell. And so I'll hold until I get the price I need to cover my bills. And that's kind of why post-halving, the price has this upward trajectory. Because if my block rewards go down, I need to get more money per unit than I used to get to cover my bills, or I go out of business. So the propensity to sell is reduced, which means the bid has to come up. Beautiful. I mean, absolutely beautiful coding, because that momentum, that price change then attracts attention. So this is where the last part of value change can happen, is if there is a supply shock, right, which is a halving event, there's less supply of new coins, and so many are hodled. But then there could be a demand shock. If a government, not that El Salvador is not cool, but it's small. I mean, it's teeny tiny, and they have a few hundred million of value. Okay, I mean, that's not nothing. But if we're talking about 1 million coins, arguably 6-ish% of the supply, if I say the supply is about 18-ish, that's a big deal. So eventually it will hit 240. And I read this morning, someone was saying, oh, it'll be 250 in 8 weeks. If the bill gets passed in the first 100 days, and that wouldn't be 8 weeks, but we got, it's about 8 weeks. So 8 weeks from now, will be post inauguration. And if they got that bill passed in the first week and suddenly people were like, holy crap, I got to front run the US government. Yeah, things can go up faster. See, here's the thing. 100K to 1 million, it's not that big a move. It's 10X, right? I mean, it's not that it's not a big move, but it's not that big. The miracle of Bitcoin is not that it's going to hit 100K this week. It's not a miracle. It seems like a miracle. And, Dan Moorhead just posted the thing yesterday. His original Bitcoin fund is up 1,000X. To go up 1,000X in anything is one of the great investments of all time, period. But 1,000X is a lot different than 10X. 10X, a lot of things go up 10X. I mean, not many, but a lot. And so that 1 million, even though the number sounds big, that move's really not even that impressive. And I think baked in, highly likely, when, don't really know. But the miracle of Bitcoin was it went from 0.003 cents to $1. That was the miracle, both in terms of multiple. Like if you were there at the 0.003 cents and you got to $1, now most people would have sold. It would have been long gone, right? Because they made, so many times their money. And there are lots of examples of people bought at 50 cents and sold at 250 and thought they were so smart. But ultimately, each incremental move, and that's why, when people show linear scale charts, I go batshit crazy. It's like long-term charts have to be log scale. They have to be log scale. Because going from 100 to 200, right? That's 100% increase. Going from 200 to 300 is not. So yes, it's 100,000 move, but it's only half as much. And so you have to look at log scale. So again, that's a long answer. Going from 250 to 1 million, that'll happen like fast. Now, is it likely, I think, that we have the next bear market before that? Yes, right? I actually think this cycle tops, I used to say 150-ish. Now maybe that's a little higher. Maybe we get to the 2 handle. But, next fall-ish, I'm guessing October, September timeframe, we will have a bear market. There'll be too much leverage in the system, and humans will human, and we'll have another downdraft. Now, could that be mitigated by this big FOMO? Look, if the US passes the bill and then every other government around the world says, well, shit, if they did it, I got to do it.
In addition to the US, 3 other countries are following in El Salvador's footsteps by considering their own Bitcoin reserve. Brazil has proposed a plan to hold 5% of its reserves in Bitcoin, aiming to reduce exchange rate risks and strengthen economic resilience. In Poland, presidential candidate Sławomir Mencen is advocating for a Bitcoin reserve and pro-crypto legislation to transform the country into a crypto hub. Meanwhile, in Russia, lawmakers are exploring the idea of a national crypto reserve, despite some government opposition, with discussions around replacing US dollar reserves with digital asset. With Bitcoin's growing acceptance among governments and financial institutions, it's steadily becoming a mainstream asset for those seeking to hedge against inflation and economic uncertainty. Now, let's return to Mark Yusko as he offers more valuable insights on this evolving trend.
I'll stick with what I said 6 months ago, that I thought absolutely no question in my mind we were getting to 6-digit BTC this year in dollars. No question. Why? Well, because fair value was going to be in the low to mid 80s, and we would blow right through that because of animal spirits. And whether we got to 110 or 120 or 150, I don't really know. It just depends how much leverage gets in the system. But this week, I'm fairly certain, it can never be certain, but I'm fairly certain we'll blow right through 100K. Then we'll get a really big parabolic move. And, then it's harder to judge. I mean, we don't have that many cycles to look at, but the cycles are very consistent because humans are going to human. When the prices blow fair value, investors, people, I like to consider myself an investor. I like to buy things below fair value. That's what I do for a living. And so you buy them and you just hold them. Then what happens is the price starts to rise and get closer to fair value. The traders come in. They're like, oh, movement. I need movement. I don't really care about the fair value. I don't really care at all. I just want to trade. And nothing wrong with trading. I stink at it. I never asked me to trade your money. I'm bad at it. And most humans are bad at it, but there are some good traders. There are a few good traders. But then the speculators come in. Well, what's a speculator? Well, speculator is someone who doesn't really care about anything other than someone needs the other side of a sale, right? Oil producers need to sell their production for it. I'm sitting in Tulsa, Oklahoma in a hotel room with my in-laws. And so here they sell the production forward and the speculator has to take the other side. Because for every buyer, there has to be a seller. For every seller, there has to be a buyer. So speculators are not evil. They just don't care about what they're buying. They just take the other side of the sale. Well, then as the price really starts to move, this is the problem. That's when the gamblers come in. And the gamblers bring leverage. And leverage tends to accelerate the trend until such time as it ends. And, I love this. Everyone looks at these parabolic charts and like, oh, this is great. This is great. This is going to go on forever. Show me one, Austin. I defy anyone watching this video. Show me one chart that goes like this and then stays flat. You can't do it. They all go up and then they come down. Now, they eventually, like the Bitcoin chart, had this big parabolic move in 2013, and then it crashed 84%. And then it had a big parabolic move in 17, and it crashed 84%. Then it had a big parabolic move in 21, and it crashed 76%. Now, I tweeted this out a long time ago. When you look at that 2013, right, it was a 20-fold move. It looks barely visible on the chart today. And the one from 2017 was really big, right? We went from 10,000 to 20,000 in 8 weeks. No, I'm sorry, 5 weeks. From November 6th to December 18th, we went up $10,000 in 5 weeks, just like that. And you can barely see it. Now this move eventually, and then the 21 move looked really big, and then we had the crash. Well, now we're way above the trend. So it's a series of higher highs and higher lows. That's the long-term adoption. And that's not going away. That's not going away.
Mark Yusko shared his belief that Bitcoin is poised to reach new heights as it gains greater legitimacy and institutional backing. The outlook for the future is incredibly promising, especially with global adoption accelerating and Bitcoin being increasingly recognized as a reliable hedge against inflation and economic instability. What's clear is that we're on the verge of a major shift in the financial landscape, where Bitcoin could become a core asset for both governments and investors. As we approach 2025, the question is no longer if Bitcoin will rise, but rather how high it will go and how soon it will get there. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.